Welcome back to another episode of Waking Up with Wisdom with the Garden of Enlightenment. My name is Jennifer.
And I'm Alicia.
And today we have Kerry Walker with us from Alice Eats the Apple.
Woohoo! Hi, guys.
Kerry's going to go ahead and give us her story on awakening and how it started and what she's doing now.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm just honored.
I'm so happy to have you here.
You froze up.
Yep.
What did you say?
I said, I am so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, you know, I love that you're doing this show, and I love it. I don't know. I just think that there are so many things out there that so many of us are experiencing right now. And so anyway, kudos to you. And I'll just dive right in. So I am Kerry Walker, Alice Eats the Apple, as you already have said. And my journey actually started way back when. I had a great-great-grandmother, no, 3 greats grandmother that could remove things from your body. And it wasn't a big deal. Like, nobody made a big deal. It was just kind of the woman that did the kind of weird stuff. And so I sort of I didn't really grow up with it, but I grew up with it, if that makes sense. It was way back.
You were aware of it.
Exactly. And it was in the background. And I remember my first experience, I was maybe 7, and my grandfather passed away. And that night I had a dream, so I had this dream that my grandfather was sitting in this room. Everything was black around him, sort of like in space. Mm-hmm. And this voice said, and it was just a voice that was all around, said, "Your grandfather loves you very much. He's going away. You'll see him again." And he just had this huge smile on his face. I woke up and found out he had died. So several of us had the dream, my mom, my brother, and myself. And I just thought that was really cool. Again, I was so young that I didn't put a lot into that dream. It was just something that happened. And then I remember having a dream that all my dolls flew. I was probably about 8 or 9 here. All my dolls flew up and a body dropped. And my great grandmother had died after that. I mean, like, she died the next day. So sort of, again, kind of in there. And a friend of mine told me recently, she said, "Don't you remember you used to love to do this and run energy? We would sit and we would see if we could feel things from our hands." I kind of can recall that. So obviously I always had this awareness of something more. Mm-hmm. And when I was about 11, I told a preacher, I remember this guy saying, "Oh, you shouldn't dance, shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that." And it's like, why? Didn't Jesus dance? Didn't they drink wine? I mean, what's so wrong with that? So I've questioned my entire life. Like, things just didn't make sense. I always felt like I fit. I was never a person that said, "Oh, I just want to go home. I don't want to be here." I like it here. I mean, this is a pretty cool place. And I don't know if I asked you this last time. I was probably about 12. And I remember we lived way out in Spring, Texas, and just out in the middle of the woods. I'm trying to just zip through this backstory, but and I remember waking up and I flipped sides. Like, my bed was up against the wall, window, and I woke up this way, and I look out the window and down, sort of, and it was a full moon, so you could see. And I remember this man wearing a trench coat and a hat. And he was looking up at me, and our eyes locked, which is interesting because I'm blind as a bat even then. Our eyes locked, and I just remember I froze, and it was just like, oh my God, I hope he doesn't see me. And it kind of freaked me out. But looking back, I wasn't afraid. I felt like there was somebody that checked in on me. So about 2 years ago, I asked my mom, I said, "Do you remember that, or am I making that story up?" She said, "No, I remember that because I was concerned that there was some man lurking around the house." And so life goes on. I never fit in the sense of, like, school. Hated school. I loved to learn, but I hated school. I hated that I had to go and I had to have my butt in a seat. And I never could see beyond where I was, meaning I wasn't the person that said, "Oh, I have to do this to get here, and then I have to do this to get here. So we need to go to college, and then I never had a life plan. I kind of never thought I would grow up. and maybe I still think that, and I'll be 49, next month or in 2 months. But it's anyway. So I had like no concept of time. So anyway, okay. So forward, always been intrigued, herbs, that type of thing. Always kind of jokingly said I must have been a witch at some point. Always naturally believed there was a past life, but as
I can sense that from you.
Really?
Yeah.
I felt lost. 20s were really difficult. And I remember thinking, I wonder if everyone goes through a time when they feel really lost, whether it's when they're older and they get divorced, or they're younger and they don't know what they want to do. But I always felt like there was a tomorrow, something's coming, something special, something, I don't know what it is. But I know there's more. I just knew there was always more. And so I met my husband when I was about 28. And I think that's where I believe that we have a very loose life plan. Like we have these signposts, and you may get to them this way, you may get to them this way, you may get to them with a direct route. Depends, because you learn as you go. But there are these little things that we check off as, this lifetime I'd like to learn this, or I'd like to learn that. And he was an integral part of this. He is this engineer brain, lawyer, very grounded, very I'm not saying very 3D because I know sometimes when we say that, we're not saying it in a great way. We're saying it in anyway, he's wonderful. And I remember opening a book, and I opened it to my birthday. And it was this book with, those books that are like, this is your day, and this is your sign, and and it was like, this book was about this fat. And we just started, I think we'd gone on like one date. I thought, that's interesting. And forward a little bit, one night we're sitting there, and he said, so when's your birthday? I tell him. He's like, you know what? That's my dad's birthday. And I said, well, when's your birthday? And he's told me. I said, you know what? That's my dad's birthday. And
wow.
So I made that connection that maybe I should look for this. And somehow I knew that this was an important signpost. And anyway, so here, we've been together now for 20 plus years, and it's this interesting yin and yang. He grounds me, and with our kids, I have 3 boys. It's like they kind of get my wacky side, and they get his grounded side, and so it's kind of an interesting mix. So forward again, I go back to school, become a designer, become a mom, kind of doing the everyday thing. And I remember this feeling of, is this it? Like, do I just wait to die now? I mean, I've checked all the boxes. I have a house. I have a beautiful husband. I have beautiful kids. And now what? And I was so sad. I was just so sad that I thought, I wait for, and there's nothing wrong with this, but but it's like, I wait for an RV.
I felt like that.
Really?
Questioning if there's more.
Right. And it's like an RV and grandkids, that's like, really? I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like I've done it yet, whatever it is. But then how crappy of me to say that, because here I am with, with everything we all work for and work towards, but yet I'm restless. So a girlfriend of mine passed away, diagnosed 1 month, dies 2 months after that. So that was a big part of it. And then I found this little tiny, and I tell the story a lot, I know, so I'm sorry if you guys have heard this, but I found this little tiny dot on my arm, and it looked like a freckle. I went 2 times to 2 different doctors and said, doing the mole check and stuff. And they were like, it's fine, it's fine. Something kept saying, go back in. So I went back in, and lo and behold, melanoma. And they caught it before it spread. Good catch. And my guides had come before in a dream and said, you ready to go? You ready to go? And I was like, I'm ready. And I was just elated in this dream. And then I said, no, you know what? No, I'm not ready. I don't know what that means. It kind of frightens me. So that had been probably 5 or 6 years before the spot. So then, and I realized I'm all over the place. I will bring this in. I end up sitting in the tub one night. What's that?
I said, no worries. Take your time.
Thank you. So one night I'm in the tub, and I'm sitting there, and I said, okay, you know what? I found this spot. I'm supposed to do something. I'm ready. And whatever it is you guys came to me and asked me to do, I'm ready to do. And I said, but I want a sign I'm not nuts. And I always want a sign. That's always my thing. Give me a sign. Because being grounded is a big deal to me. And anyway, so I've lived in my same house for probably 8 or 9 years at this point. I've had the same dishes for, since before that. I'm unloading the dishwasher. I open the kitchen cabinet, and there, from the light above, reflecting off my plate onto the back of the cabinet is this perfect pyramid with an eye. It has a pupil. It has the round part. I mean, it's just, and I look at this. I look at the person with me. I said, do you see that? She's like, yeah. I said, well, there's my sign. And
I've been to Kerry's house. I was on Kerry's show as well, and she showed it to me, and yes, I've seen it.
You got to see the sign. Not everybody sees the sign. I mean, I don't know why. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not.
It's not meant for other people sometimes.
Oh yeah, it was there.
So I think that I always say that, there could be an alien right here and I don't see him. I mean, I've said that my whole life. And you know what? I think that we become compatible, and our frequency, you turn that dial a tiny bit and you're on a different station. And then all of a sudden you start to see things, right? So that was the first thing. And I've always judged, and I didn't know I judged. I mean, I'll never find my tribe. I live in this area with very grounded people that are into stuff. And I'm not, I mean, I like pretty things, but I'm not going to find my tribe. That's a bunch of horseshit. I did. I found my tribe. All of a sudden I met this person. Turns out Tiffany, who I did the show with for 2 years, one of my dearest friends, I meet the room mom in my class. We're on a zoo trip, and the room mom, Kira, said, so what did you do this weekend? I was like, I took a Reiki class, and I just decided to be honest. I always hid this stuff because I thought it was too weird and woo-woo, and I didn't want to be judged. And you and I talked about this. And I mean, it's just, and she's like, oh, well, did you know so-and-so? 2 people in my class, 2 people in Houston. And this was way, way out. He's like, yep, I knew your friend. She was there. And so then she invited me, the room mom invited me to this lunch thing. And I sit next to this beautiful, beautiful person. And we end up talking back and forth. We end up a tribe, the 3 of us. Turns out I went to high school with this woman with the red hair. What's up? Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so we start beading, like we'd meet, like we'd drop off our kids, we'd meet and we'd bead, we'd run energy, we'd talk about the latest book, Bashar, whatever. We'd all get together and then we'd go on our way. And so I'd been told probably 2 years before, people are going to come to you for answers. Like, answers to what? I have no idea what that means. No, people are going to come to you because things are going to get really wacky, and they will, quote, come to your kitchen table. Okay. So put a pause on that. So I meet these women. It's really wonderful. Wake up at 4 a.m. Guides love to wake you up at 4 a.m.
No shit.
What is that?
I don't know.
We're quiet, right? I mean, I think that's so. And they're like, and I woke up going, oh, podcasting. I need a podcast. I'm like, okay. And then I went back to bed. I go to Best Buy and I buy like this thing to hold my iPad. That's about as far as I got. I'm like, what do I know about podcasting? I'm a mom of 3 kids. I'm a designer. What do I know? So then 2 months after that, these guys that started 101 KLOL, shock jock, big station. Like the Stones would come through and go by and meet these 2 men that were the disc jockeys. But the guys that started that show started an online show. They called my girlfriend, lots of red hair, Tiffany. They called her and said, hey, do y'all want a show? And it's like, okay, all right. So, I mean, you should have, the first few shows were so, I mean, I stutter and I couldn't get my words out. And we were just like, oh my gosh, we're talking about dead people. Oh my gosh, we're talking about, and then it's like second gear. Okay, we're talking about aliens. Okay. And it just went back. I mean, and then it just kind of grew from there. But I do have to say that my abilities to see the friend that died, this is all part of the same period. And I would say it's all in the same 6 months. Our sons were friends. I dropped my son off at their house. She had already passed at this point. I dropped my son off at her house. Nothing. I come back to pick him up and she's right there. I mean, she's just like, I get out of the car, I get Jack, my son, and and I'm walking and I hear, and I can see her. And the way I see is sort of, think about what you ate last night and what it looked like. That's the way I see. It's like I see in my mind. And she,
Oh, you froze.
beautiful. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. And I stop and I'm focusing on her, and my son, in the meantime, I mean, I'm walking across his buddy's yard, and he's like, Mom, what are you doing? I said, I'm talking to Wendy. Hold on. And he's like, oh my God, get in the car. Like, don't embarrass me. And it's like, no, hold on. So, and she said, and then she got clear and she said, I'm the one that told you about your arm. And the reason I know, because I had at the beginning, and really for a very long time, I think a lot of this had this, like, am I making this shit up? Like,
Yes.
did I really just experience that?
It's the conditioning.
Absolutely. And it's also the figuring out, because I see things, and it took me a long time to realize that what I see, I'm actually seeing.
Yeah.
And I say that recently, this man that I just met, he came in to look at my Wi-Fi, and we were talking, really lovely man. And he said, why do you look like you're looking through me? He said, you're looking at me, and I never knew I did this. Because when it's you, it's just who you are, and you don't know that you're doing something weird. And I realized when he's talking, I'm watching his mind. I'm watching what he sees, and I'm watching, it's like it plays out like a movie, and that's how I see. But I didn't realize that I was seeing that. And so anyway, so back to my girlfriend. So she's the one that told me this. And then as I was driving off, she was still with me. And I said, so can you be in more places than one at a time? And she's like, no, I'm not. I'm omniscient. That's not my word. And it's like, okay. And so then she kind of drifted off. And that happened a couple of times, like right in a row. I can't control it. That's not what I do. And so it that prompted the whole bathtub, hey, you know what, I'm ready to do it thing. So there have been a lot of things. And again, I don't see in time. I mean, like, I don't have a good timeline. And so that's why I jump around a lot, by the way, because the thoughts just come in. So anyway, so that's my basic story.
So what you do a lot of things. I know you had dabbled, you touched a little bit on the alien things. I know that that's one of your jams. If you haven't checked out her show, when this airs, I'll make sure everything is linked. You do need to go check her out, but she's very good in that aspect of talking with the aliens or pinpointing them.
That's awesome, especially with the experiences I've had when they came down and did that meditation with you and me, Jen, and it was like a force field that came down, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? What am I going crazy? I text Jen right away. I'm like, what the fuck? And she's like, it's okay, calm down.
It's all right. So Syrian, I'm getting Syrian. Are you, is that part of your
I'm a hybrid.
galactic family? Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. That is so cool. Well, it is, yes, the alien thing scared me for a long time, because we're conditioned for that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that we can access ourselves. Like, I don't really go to psychics and stuff now. That there are so many people that have so many phenomenal gifts. But you can connect yourself, you can connect, and it takes practice, and it takes discernment, and it takes, but we all have that ability. And so, but I'm curious, like everybody else. And I love, I mean, some people's gifts are so freaking out of this world that
you need to check it out.
You do. You really do. And it's and there are also people that fish. I mean, there are, and I've met a couple of those, and and I just think those are gifts that haven't been realized, because I feel like if I think to myself, I want to be a medium, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. But it could be that that's not my bailiwick. My jam may be, I don't know, aliens, or it may be whatever it is, healing, frequency. So you keep trying to do that, and you keep integrating your other skills into that. And sometimes when you just kind of take a break and sit back and let the dust fall where it does, you can start seeing what it's like you have to let go of what you think
Of
you're
labels.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
Bingo.
I couldn't say it much better. That's, when I first started going through my awakening, and like you said, all this stuff just starts coming in and it emerges and you're trying to make sense of it. And it goes back into labels. And when I stopped trying to, that kind of resonates with me, but I'm not fully, I just stopped and I just kind of just do my thing, you know?
Well, you have to carve out your own lane. And I think I think the scariest part for people, I really do think this is it. It is. I kind of have two ideas. I always envision myself hurling down the Autobahn, and it's safe. The roads are beautiful. There are lights, there are signs. You're with a ton of other people. But then you start saying, what's over there? What is that? There are no lights. There is no path. You just have to, and it's like, and you take your car and it's like, you don't know where you're going to end up. And that's scary. That really is scary. And it is, but when you let go and you surrender and you do the work, and waking up is a process, because you have to do the human work. You have to look at your patterns as shit comes up and it doesn't feel good. Number one, is that yours or is it someone else's? What did you do? I'm the victim. And that was a huge one for me. And I saw it in other people when it's like, you help create that, right? And people don't want to hear that. And I mean, there have been some horrific things that have happened to people, but you have to wonder why. Like, why? Because I was talking to a person about this just yesterday. I have a friend that's husband, and she's a new friend, recently passed away like a couple months ago. And she was saying, and I'm just amazed at how she's walking through it. And she's moving. She's doing the work. She's trying to figure stuff out. And it's like, it's so easy to get stuck in that place. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I've been completely like torn apart and I'm rebuilding and I'm not who I thought I was. And I think that that's life. All of these roles, it's like we're in this play, this incredible play with the protagonist and the antagonist and you've got the costumes and you've got the set. Then all of a sudden the set, everything just goes bloop and it falls apart. Well, you're not that role. You're not that actress. That tree is not real. I mean, it's all there for us to learn and grow. And so become attached to the identity, good or bad. I am a this or I'm a this, this happened to me. It's much easier said than done. And I get that, but I've done a lot of work around that. And when you start, something really cool happened. And I'm going to see if I can say this clearly. It happened about 3 days ago. I have a lot of stress right now going on. That's why I haven't done the show. I put the show on hold for 2 or 3 months. And all of a sudden, it's like this, I don't know if it was my higher self came in and said, you are not that. You are not that. You are not that. You are not a wife. You are not a human. You're not from here. Those roles, those identities, your family, you have the identity with your family. You're the creative one. You're the wacky one. You're the smart one. All of those, you're not any of those. So just let that shit go. Just be who you are right now. And anyway, so that was a really eye-opening thing for me that I needed to hear. And the biggest takeaway is you're not from here. If I transplanted you guys to Iraq, you would be like, I don't know what the rules are. I don't know if I'm supposed to do this or if I'm not supposed to do this, or what do I cover up? And what do I, it's the same thing. You are not, I don't know if that made sense, but it like, did. Our roles are very different, and you get to be who you are, because we're bringing this new energy to this planet, and for us to evolve to the next place. Most of us are already out of here. We're just reflecting back into this 3D reality. Most of us have already gone.
The patterns, right? Figuring them out and then figuring out where we fit a lot of it too, right? So
yes, but you're not here. I'm not here.
Yeah, exactly.
So these rules don't apply to us. I mean, think gravity. There are people that float, there are saints that float. They figured out how to make the rules not apply to them. We can all do it. Jesus was saying, what I'm doing, you're doing, you can do this too. But we went finger, finger, are we gonna, anyway, I don't want to get off on that. I'm not trying to offend anybody because
well, you said it earlier. It's matching that frequency. It's
Yes.
changing that frequency. And that's why the Buddhist monk are way up in the fucking mountains, because they have figured that out. That's why they levitate. That's why they, transport and all that other stuff, because, if they did it with normal people, like if they walked outside right now and they did it, people would literally lose their minds because they are not programmed into that frequency.
That's why they're so silent too. My fiance was actually saying that about how we never actually fully reach enlightenment until we die. Because if you look at the monks, when they go into the poses and they go to die, they actually die in the meditated state. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about that.
You frequency out of here. So there's what's it called? James Gilliland's ranch, the E. SETI Ranch. It is so powerful up there. The land, the frequency is so high. That's why you see Kuan Yin, you see whoever you identify with. It's so easy to attain, to reach that space. That's why they see the Yetis that pop in and out. And they have actual photographs. And I've met these people. It's the real deal. I mean, anyway, they have these pictures and they meditate and they can bring themselves to this place where they start to phase in and out. Because the reality, they're just vibrating higher. And Mitch, who is a fella, is a dear, dear friend of mine, and we did a show recently, and he was explaining, and I love this. He said, like when you see a fan, when the fan starts moving super, super fast, and then it goes backwards, and then you can't see the fan. That's what we're doing when you're reaching that place. And so there are people. I have heard of people that just disappear. Mayans, there's a whole Mayan tribe just disappeared. And so it is because they're like, fuck, I'm out of here. Shit's going down. I don't want to be
Atlantis.
Well, yeah, that's a whole other thing. But yes, exactly. Exactly. And so, I mean, and it's all of this folklore, right? But that's where you're asking where I'm going. That's what really intrigues me now. The indigenous populations, where do they go? Where are they? What do they believe? Because they are so much smarter than we are,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was just telling my sister this last night. We were talking about it and how, you can, when you start to look at all the different ancient civilizations and, them being in one side of the world and something happening at another tribe on the other side of the world. And it's the same similar things. And I'm constantly telling people, because they're like, what, you can't taste it or touch it. It's not real or whatever. And I'm like, well, okay.
Dogs.
Once you stop trying to make sense of things, it makes sense.
Well, you have to believe to see. We are taught you have to see to believe. Mm-hmm. And you have to, and I am quoting Mitch, by the way. That is him. That's not me. But it is also, so I had a dream. This is before I really stepped in, and I had this dream that it was really cool. You guys, now, are you in Houston also?
No, she's in Canada.
Ah, that's so cool. Well, yeah. It's hot here, by the way. Well,
I wish.
Yeah, no. We need a little bit of winter, but I think winter's coming. Mm-hmm. So I had this dream and we were waiting for a hurricane, like waiting for something. And then when hurricanes hit, like no one works. Everybody's just sort of holding their breath to see what's going to happen. And the dream felt this way. It felt very, very real. I could see detail. I could see leaves. I could see a chip bag roll by. We're in my husband's car, 3 kids in the back, and a friend had visited and left his phone. My kid's husband, we're driving, I don't know, grocery store, I guess. We're driving somewhere and all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's happening. And in the dream, I knew what it was. And we flipped, it's almost like flipping off a diving board, and it was that feeling. And all of a sudden we were in this place and it was stunning. You want me to wait? You want me to go on?
No, you can go.
Okay. And it was just the stunning. It looked just like here, but it was cleaner and it was beautiful. And it was just very, very light. And so this woman approaches me and she looked very much, I always say, like Judi Dench. She had short white hair, and she had a blue robe on.
Oh, wow.
And she said, "Do you know where you are?" And in the meantime, my children were younger, and they ran into our room and they woke us up. This is when they wake you up at 5:30. Husband said, "You go back to sleep. I'll get the boys." So I went back to sleep, went right back into the dream. And she said, do you know where you are? And I said, no. She said, well, you've uncovered, because the melanoma made me start. Why do so many people have cancer? What's going on? And it was like this dark trail I went down, and I started doing research, kind of the David Icke stuff. And that's a real slippery slope that can get dark real fast. And she said, you peek behind the curtain, and we decided to start pulling people off. And I'm thinking, well, why would you pull off people? I mean, shouldn't we stay? But anyway, she said, do you have any questions? I said, yeah. I said, can a husband work? She's like, yeah. She said, it'll take on a different slant because people don't steal ideas here. She said, but the engineering, the inventing side, we populate the earth with these different ideas, different like cures for things and that type of thing. Okay, fine. I said, do I have a house? She said, you can have anything you want. Yeah. And the biggest one for me was government. I said, is there a government? She said, no, not like you're thinking. She said, it's more of a council. And she kind of showed me, she said things had become tipped to a point that coming back was very difficult. And so she showed me sort of like this black gooey stuff like going over the planet. And I said, well, did my neighbor, is she going to come? She said, eventually everybody comes. She said, everybody will come. And I had no idea what that dream meant. And then this will give you a time frame. Right after that, they were publicizing the new show on HBO, Leftovers, I think. And when I saw that ad, it was like, oh, that's like my dream. Like people just disappear. And so that leads into, and it took me a long time to realize that's what the shift is when people talk about the shift. Mm-hmm. And so I was on a trip with my mom last spring, and I'm writing, and how I connect is I write, and I just write, and I write thinking no one will ever read it. And sometimes I go back, I'm like, damn, that was good. Where did that come from? And that's how I connect. I just write. And so I was writing, and I said, let's go back. Let's go back. What if you went that day? What if you actually went that day? And this is where I get this idea of that we're projecting into this reality. Mm-hmm. They said, what if you actually went? Mm-hmm. And it was sort of like the montage at the end of, what is that show where he says, I see dead people, where at the end he goes back and he watches it.
The Sixth Sense.
Yes.
Thank you. And at the very end he goes back, he's like, oh my gosh, like he sees it from a different perspective. And that's what I saw. And they're like, what if you actually went that day? And you're just here helping the people wake up, because that's my goal, is for you to realize how incredibly beautiful and wonderful you are. You got to sing your note, because if you try to sing my note, it's not going to work. You have to sing your note, and everybody is amazing. Everybody. You just have to be who you are and be authentic. And I think that's my life's work right there.
That's together as a collective in the sense.
Yep, that's beautiful, and that's exactly what it's all about. This whole Great Awakening. We're all unique individuals. We're all divine. We all have these gifts. It's changing your perception and coming into your own, and not worrying about anybody else. We're all on this venture together.
We are, and we find each other. And that was part of the show. People would say, hey, would you reach out to this person? They're waking up and they have no idea what's going on. And it's just this paradigm crashing for them. And it's like, sure, no problem. And I remember with the show, the first thing they said when we met with the people that we did the show, that produced our show, they're like, y'all look so normal. I'm like, yes, we're soccer moms. I mean, I may be in my car learning how to astral travel and working on my skills while I'm waiting for my son to get out. But yeah, but there's no normal. There's no normal. And once we realized it, it's all bullshit.
That's a setting.
There's no such thing.
Right.
Yes. And that's a label. That's just, a perception of what you have, the reality that you have created in your own mind.
And that's why there's a lot of conspiracy and stuff going on, because like if you think about it, like you're talking about the indigenous people, there's a lot of them going missing. Well, why are they going missing?
They're
because
fucking
they have fucking powers. Not only that, but they have powers. So a lot of it goes into the government and they try to hide them out.
That's true. And I have done, okay, so I want to touch on that because it's funny because I just felt myself go, it is. So I was talking to Laura Eisenhower, and she is,
I love her.
such a phenomenal human being. And for those of you, everybody knows who she is. I mean, if you're listening to this show, you know who she is. She's President Eisenhower's great granddaughter, and she's vocal, and she's just a badass with incredible gifts. And anyway, and I was, Barbara Bush had just died. I'm in Houston. And I just remember we were interviewing Jamie Butler. Good Lord, I tell like 5 stories in one. Anyway, interviewing Jamie Butler, and she's this incredible medium. I can never say that word. Anyway, she was saying it was Mom's Day. Tiffany asked, she said, oh, can you bring in Barbara Bush? And it's like, I'm thinking, you're not going to find her. And that was my instant hit. And Jamie was like, no, she's not, I can't find her. And it was, so there was, there's a lot of conspiracy around presidents and that kind of thing without going down that rabbit hole. And, but afterwards I thought all the conspiracy stuff brings me to a place of, how the fuck do you not know this? How are you listening to CNN? How are you? And I was getting angry, but I was getting angry at the people I love for not seeing it. Yes. And it's like I come off as batshit crazy. And finally I asked Laura, I said, where do you, and I don't want to give it out that I know her, that I wasn't. I was talking to her. I'd had a session with her. And afterwards I was like, how do you do this? Like, some of these stories are really something. And if you follow Corey Good or you follow there is some crazy stuff out there. And she said, well, I suspend my judgment unless I really know the person or I was there. And she said, I only will take in if I actually see it. And so husband had said the same thing. He's like, how do you know? And of course my response is, well, how do you know that side? And finally I thought this isn't worth it. And I'm not built this way. I am not built to go in and, armor up and kick ass. I can, if I need to. I'm a light bearer. You light one match in a dark room, you bring light. And so I'm a light bearer. And don't mess with my friends, my babies, I can, but that's not, that stuff, it gets so dark and slimy. And again, how do we know? And so anyway, so I just felt like that needed to be said. And it is,
well, there's so much going on, right? Like, and there's a lot of people that are asleep to it, don't know what's going on. And you're right. I get angry when I talk to people. I can't even like mundane anymore.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Like, it's just, I'm like, how do you not see this?
Right.
How is your vision like this?
Well, we didn't for a lot of years. I know I didn't. I was, like you said, those points in your life, those roadmaps, I can, reviewing my life, I can see different things that may have tried to wake me up, but I may have not gotten it until it was my time to do it. But yeah, we could go on and on about this. It's it's a rabbit hole within a rabbit hole. So
there's so many of them.
there are so many of them. And that is, and I think you resonate. I think that you will find where and I'm not talking about y'all, y'all know exactly where you are, but I think people will find where they resonate. And I think fear, you have to let go of fear. Yes. You just have to let go of fear. Fear is, what is that acronym? It's an acronym for something appearing real, false
evidence appearing real, face everything and rise.
I love that because I think it's true. And I think the fear of coming out, the fear that you're going to lose people, because for the longest time, my fear was I'm going to lose everything I love because I'm going to pursue this. And no, I'm not. Why would God, why would Spirit, God, whomever, my higher self, why would they do that? Why would I, they ground me, and I had to let go of that. And that was because I think I know I've had past lives where my actions have caused pain, and we all have, I know, but it is, So the fear has to go.
Mm-hmm.
So with you, obviously you're in tune and you see truth.
Mm-hmm.
But does the truth, not the truth, but do the nasties scare you? Meaning the nasties, meaning the people that kind of facilitate and try to keep people enslaved type of thing, whether it's financial or whatever.
Yes and no.
Yeah, for me as well. When I was first, I was shown a video of, you know, different things at what was going on behind the scenes, and the person that showed me, he was like, you know, he showed me a video and he was like, I've had people get sick on this, you know, are you ready? And afterwards, my first reaction, he's like, well, how do you feel? And I'm like, I don't feel crazy, because I knew deep down I had
validating.
I had questioned the government, I had questioned religion, I had questioned economics. None of it ever made sense to me. And so it does scare me to the point of, I know what they're doing, or I believe that I know what they're doing. Yes, I don't like it. That does scare me. But on the other side, because I know, I feel like I'm doing a disservice by not sharing that information. And I also know, and I believe that, you know, we are in the middle of the Great Awakening. Things are already unfolding as it is. Even if you still watch the news or whatever, the truth will always come out. It always will surface. And just
it's like the year of the rat.
Yeah, and because we're all waking up, and like you said, you know, with the guy that came to your house and like you were looking through him, I see people for who they really are behind the mask that they're always constantly wearing. And so many of us are starting to do that now, that we're holding each other accountable and we know what each other's actions are. So the more that the truth gets out there, the more ripple effect that it's going to be. And people just need to realize, just be your fucking self.
That's it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they do anyways. Like the elites and stuff like that, they don't scare me, because at the end of the day, the way I think about it is, we're going to rise above them. And there's going to be so many people around the world that rise up against them that they will be fucking scared. They will be running and scurrying like little pack rats.
But like, what if I tell you we already have? What if I mean, it is there's this, you know, there's this idea that the shift is a large Hollywood version, and it's this, you know, apocalyptic, because that's what we crave and that's what we understand. But obviously there are so many things that they used to believe that a chariot pulled the moon across the sky every night. You know, I mean, we evolve to different places, and we can only make sense of the world with what we have. But what if I tell you that we've already done it? I mean, it's already in play, and it's
just
already
a replay.
And it's so my oldest son, when he was in 5th grade, Ebola, this is when the Ebola scare was huge. And when people had Ebola, oh my gosh, they were just going nuts. I mean, at school, he's like, oh, Mom, I had lunch with him at school one day. He's like, what are we going to do? And what if it comes to Houston? And they were all kind of getting tizzied up. And I said, you know, if it comes to Houston, we'll homeschool. I don't know. And yes, your mind can go to that place of, holy shit, I mean, who wants Ebola? And it's out there. And that's when it occurred to me, they scared me about swine flu. They scared me about bird flu. They,
the SARS,
different things.
In
SARS.
Toronto. Yep.
And the reality is, this isn't in my reality. I don't know if it's even true. That's not a station I'm on. Now, if it's a station,
it's fear-based.
Well, exactly. So what you're doing is that law of attraction. You're drawing. I mean, I'm not sure if you're drawing in Ebola, but you're drawing in these catastrophic events. You know, and some of it I know that we're predestined to go through these things for various reasons.
Yes.
But not predestined, because I strongly believe in free will. But we have signed up for the lesson. But also, it's not in my reality. Like my kid, one kid puked somewhere. I would puke. Like, you could tell me we ate dinner together 2 nights ago, and you could say, oh, you know what, I've got a stomach bug and I'm throwing up. I'd start feeling like,
it's because of that thought. that thought in there. Like, that's like my fiance. He's like, oh, I'm starting to feel sick. I'm like, yeah, because you just said you're starting to feel sick.
Right. Your body's going, oh, you want to feel sick? Okay. Well, I finally said, no more. Shut this shit down. We're not doing this. And every now and then there will be a flu. There'll be something around me. And it's like, all right. And I'll close my eyes and I go in and it's like, all right, guys, come on, let's do it. And I fill myself with as much light as I can. And it's like, okay, we're good. I don't get it. I was with somebody all weekend that had the flu. Didn't get it. My kid had the flu. Didn't get it. I mean, and it is, and I've just decided that we're not doing this. And anyway, so I think that you have more control over your holographic world.
Yes.
You do. And just play with that idea. You know, I mean, that's what I love. And that's, I love that saying, Ashley from the ranch, and they're saying that my connection's unstable. Ashley from the ranch, that's what she said. She was like, just play with it. Play with meditation. Play, you know, don't say, oh, I have to meditate. Oh, I have to do this. Just play with it. You know, if it, and it is fun to play with, and it is fun to
and
see.
There's many ways to do it too. Exactly.
Yes. And it takes that hardcoreness out of it, that you're going to fail if you don't play with it. I mean, or if you don't get it right. You know, there's no failing.
I don't meditate all the time, but I'm still
I don't
woke.
ever meditate. Meditation's different. We have this idea that it's this, you know, meditation for everybody. That's exactly right. And so but just play with the world and see and start noticing, start asking for signs and start noticing them, because that's really kick ass when you start seeing things and you're like, did that just happen? You know, and don't discount it.
Perfect note to just finish on. That's exactly right. Just start paying attention to those signs, guys, and
be mindful.
Yeah, be mindful. And yeah, do you have anything else to say? I mean, I'm going to go ahead and attach your show where people can find you. So
I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah.
Well, I would love, I mean, just keep asking the questions, and, you know, and we're a tribe, all of us. And so reach out, because I'm sure they can reach out to you, and I know with me, and ask questions, just ask questions.
Absolutely.
And connect. You're not out there alone. That's my biggest thing.
And there is no silly question. Exactly.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. Definitely. Again, guys, thank you for joining us and watching this show. If you please go ahead and hit the notification, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not already, and we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.